It's all well and good enjoying the Woolwich fans crying last night, watching them want their manager out as they have to deal with the same abuse that we got when we were so close under Maurizio Pochettino. But unless Big Ange and the boys deliver tonight in the Arctic Circle, Tottenham will once again become the meme. Ange and the boys cannot let that happen. I fear an evening of nail-biting and soul-searching is near, as let's face it, Spurs never make it easy. I'll be previewing tonight's Europa League semi-final second leg against Bodo Glimt and taking you through all of the quotes from yesterday's press conferences, as well as the team news on today's Daily Tottenham Hotspur News. Guys, thank you so much for watching or listening wherever you are. Please do give this video a like if you're watching on YouTube and do subscribe to the channel. But let's get into it. Like I mentioned in the opening, I'm just nervous. It's nerve-wracking. Being a Spurs fan for 35 years does not allow me to fully believe that this could happen. It's very, very difficult. I know some of you will accuse me of being negative. I prefer to think of it as being realistic. I do think we're the better team. I think we're better individuals. 1 to 11, but maybe I need to take back actually what I just said. Does that mean I think we're the better team? No, it means I think we have the better individuals. I think we have the better chance of producing moments of brilliance. But in terms of team shape and team familiarity, especially in the Arctic Circle, on the pitch that they are so used to, it's going to be, if you haven't watched any of Bodo Glimt's home games, it's not just a plastic pitch. It's not like the one that we played at Tamworth. It's so quick, and they really douse it with water as well. With water. And there's been some rain about in Norway as well. So it's going to be incredibly quick. And you would think, wouldn't you, that the kind of better standard of players would be able to deal with that better. But the reality is that Bodo Glimt, they train on that every single day. So they know it back to front. So it's going to be problematic to get used to. And what Tottenham need to do more than anything is just stay in the game, not concede early, not do what Tottenham have been doing all season, concede early and stay in that game. Keep that 2-goal lead for as long as possible because I really do think that we will score tonight. I can't see us not scoring, but the problem is I also can't see us not conceding too. So it's a matter of not conceding 3, basically. I'm sure we will score. We will make chances. For some reason, I just go into this, and this is why I put him on the thumbnail. I think Decky Kulusevski could be the important man for us tonight. I think he will feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders now that Maddison is out. And I think it's something that he will relish. I really do. I think he's a leader, and I think his leadership will come to the fore tonight. And I really hope that him having got those kind of minutes in his legs in the last few Premier League games, albeit with him not kind of showing not really showing a rhythm, but I hope those minutes will lead to it all kind of coming together tonight and Kulusevski putting in another kind of match-winning or match-saving Europa League performance as he did so often earlier this season. I'm thinking particularly of the equaliser he got at Ibrox in what was another very difficult game that Spurs didn't play well in at all, but Kulusevski popped up, coming in off the right and slotting it into the bottom right-hand corner with his left foot, and we're going to need something like that tonight from him. Look, let me know how you guys feel. Let me know your predictions. Let me know your team selection for tonight in the comments. And also let me know, have you, what I would call, jinxed it and already booked your tickets to Bilbao? I haven't. I would plan on going to Bilbao if we got through to the final, but I've been too afraid to book any tickets and look at anything really. So let's see what happens after tonight. Okay, let's get into some of those press conference quotes. Ange was asked about the mindset and his message to the players before tonight's game. He said, I think it's just approaching it in the same way we have in the rest of our campaign. I think away from home we've been really... Well, you've got to be really disciplined and organised whenever you're playing away in Europe. And irrespective of the scoreline, I think all the lads have done well and right through the campaign, particularly in the knockout stages and the second legs, whatever we've needed to do, they've done it within the confines of our game plan and being organised, whether that was when we had to beat AZ at home, and it could have got nervy and the boys handled that really well, or when we had to go to Frankfurt and win at a tough venue and an imposing atmosphere. And again, I think the lads handled it really well. So it'll be a similar sort of mindset against Bodo Glimt. One thing that I'm just slightly nervous about is how important James Maddison has been in those games, making those runs from deep in behind the back line so that we can play more direct over the top. That is something we will miss. I also, as I've spoken about on videos this week, think we'll miss him coming to the ball to get it deep to enable Spurs to have some control over the play. For some reason, those two things are not really in Kulusevski's armoury. He's not really keen to do it. He's not keen to come deep and central for the ball. He's more keen to kind of stay around the halfway line and kind of in that inside right position. And then also he doesn't really like to break beyond the line like Maddison has really shown. Kind of Maddison has been Dele Alli-esque in those kind of runs, certainly in Europe. If you think about the penalty he won against Frankfurt and the brilliant goal he scored last Thursday before getting that injury, breaking the line. So that's something that I'm hoping Ange will have dealt with pre-match in terms of finding solutions for how much we're going to miss that really. And hopefully, like I said, I think Kulusevski, when I say he'll feel the weight on his shoulders of the responsibility, I just think he likes that. He likes feeling like he's the main man and like everything good is going to go through him. And really some of his best play for Spurs earlier this season was when Maddison was injured. So I'm hoping that he's now going to pick up the slack. Ange was asked about being 2 games away from changing the narrative about trophies at Spurs. He says, I don't know if it will change it, but certainly some of it becomes redundant for sure, because a big part and a lot of the narrative around the club is how we haven't won a trophy for a very long time. Anything. I think it's 15 years for a trophy, 41 for a European trophy, so that is part of it. Some of it will still exist beyond that, but as I said, from my perspective, how do you create a winning culture? It all starts with winning. I think the more experiences you have of winning, if you can land a trophy along the way, it certainly gives belief within the whole club that it is capable and possible to do. We've still got a big game to think about, even to get through to a final before we can start talking about that. Listen, one thing I will give Ange credit for is he has been totally consistent in his messaging on this, in what he is seen as the most important part of his role at Spurs is trying to change the mentality of the club in terms of bringing about a winning culture. I get that. There is something that I feel positive about in terms of Ange having been in these situations a lot before. He has won things. He has been in these big semi-final and hopefully, hypothetically, potentially final moments, and that will breed experience. Obviously, Pochettino found a way by hook or by crook, and found a way with a very injured Spurs side, by the way, in terms of familiar patterns, to get us through that semi-final against Ajax 6 years ago. I think it's 6 years ago yesterday, maybe. But in the final, we were found wanting. So if we did get to the final, I would feel more positive that Ange would have ways to get us over that finish line. But like he said at the end there, it's about tonight. We can't think too far ahead into the final. It's about tonight, and for me, I would just love us to get the first goal. If we could get the first goal pretty early in the game, first 15 minutes, first half an hour, it would change things massively, because Bodo Glimt, although they are a very attacking side at home, they are kind of like waves and waves of attack, finding gaps. But if we can score the first goal, then they'll really have to go for it. They'll really have to change their kind of patient style of play, and that would leave gaps in behind for Spurs, and that's where I think we can be dangerous. So that is what I'm desperate will happen. Ange was asked about the Bodo Glimt, some of those Bodo Glimt players coming out and criticising Spurs after last week's game. He just said, that's okay, there's a game tonight and all of those things will be answered. And then in terms of the team news, Ange has confirmed that Sonny did not travel with the team and will miss the game. He said he's progressing and could get minutes at the weekend, but for now he remains sidelined, which is disappointing. Once again, Tottenham's injuries this season, and I said it, didn't I? Listen, a lot of these injuries seem like bad luck more than anything, but unfortunately you can't just look at them within a vacuum, and you've got to look at how much or how little the team were rotated earlier in the season. You've got to look at I'm afraid to say again, you've got to look at the intensity of the training, and you just have to look at Liverpool and how they've suffered from no injuries. And it can't be coincidence, and I'm afraid that is one of the things that when Ange goes into his post-season meeting with Daniel Levy, if indeed he gets to have a post-season meeting with Daniel Levy, that will come up, because the reality is no team is going to be able to really have a good season, certainly in the 38-game league season, if you have as many injuries as Spurs. In fact, Mikel Arteta of Woolwich last night or this week trying to use injuries as an excuse for why they haven't won anything, and they have not had the injuries straight down the middle of the spine that Spurs have. Certainly in the last month or two, they've had obviously problems with their forwards, but in terms of losing their best two centre halves and for the majority of the season, they haven't suffered anywhere near the way that Spurs have. Ange was asked about Decky Kulusevski stepping up now that Bergvall and Maddison are injured. He said it's good to have Decky available because with Lucas, Bergvall and Maddison out, different players but very creative, going down in the same week, it's great that Kulusevski's back. He missed a lot of football and it always takes a while to get his rhythm, and I feel like he's been getting stronger with every game. Against West Ham, you could see he was starting to get his rhythm again. Irrespective of where he's at, he's going to work his socks off for the team. He's got an unbelievable engine. He doesn't stop running, and he'll be important for us. Yeah, just one thing that I'm hopeful of now that it seems Kulusevski is getting a bit more rhythm in his legs. In the first few games that he played minutes after his injury, he was just arriving late into challenges, kind of almost like a yard late, and he's not blessed with pace, Kulusevski, so when he does arrive late into challenges, it can look quite lumbering, and it can look kind of worse than it actually is. I'm just hoping that he's really on it tonight in terms of his just pacing, of getting around the pitch, of timing his press, of going with the triggers of the press so that he's not kind of left floundering in the wake of some of those Bodo Glimt players. And I've talked about it before, but Bodo Glimt just love playing 1-2s. They play 1-2s from deep, and it's going to be very, very important for Spurs to go with their runners tonight. Otherwise, sometimes, it happened in the first leg a few times as well. Sometimes it can look kind of embarrassing and schoolboy-esque when runners don't go with the 1-2 players, and they certainly take advantage of that on their home pitch. Ange, of course, does have experience of playing Bodo Glimt out in northern Norway, and he was asked about it. He was asked how when he played there before, his team Celtic did not train on the pitch the night before as Spurs did. He was asked whether that's him learning from the situation. He said no, it was different circumstances and a different scenario with Celtic. Tonight was more about, we've done this at Frankfurt, we've done it consistently in Europe, and I just feel it works better for us, and the players are used to training the night before at the venue. So it made sense to do that this year. He also confirmed that Dominic Solanke was on the plane. He said that he should be fit and available for the game. He also gave news on that Maddison injury. He said, unfortunately, Mad has hurt his knee, and it looks like he's got an issue that'll keep him out for the rest of the season. Disappointing for him more than anything, because he's been so important for us. Particularly this latter part of the year and in Europe, he's been a catalyst for a lot of our good stuff. It's really disappointing for him, but it's been a constant of our season to deal with things like this. And it's just another one we need to overcome. Guys, what do you think in terms of replacing Maddison in the midfield this tonight and Bergvall? What do you think he's going to go for? My instinct is that it will be Bentancur, Bissouma and Kulusevski. But would you be tempted to bring in a Pape Matsar in terms of his engine, in terms of him getting around the pitch, trying to get challenges in, trying to go with runners? Do you think there's any element where I'd be tempted to do that? And then play it as kind of more of a stodgy 3 midfield with Kulusevski off the right? I have to say, not a lot of people have been very happy when that midfield 3 has played before. But it would be difficult for Bodo Glimt to get around. And don't forget, I think something like 95% of Spurs' defeats this season have been by only 1 goal. And that would be enough for us tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of mindset Ange goes with when picking his team. But like I said, my instinct is it'll be Bentancur, Bissouma and Kulusevski then taking the place of Maddison, with then a choice on the right between Johnson and Odebear, and a choice on the left between Tell and Richarlison. My instinct is he'll go with Richarlison again, and he'll want to play quite direct like we did in the first 45 minutes last week. And then on the right, probably Johnson, because he likes his goal scoring. He likes the fact that he pops up in important moments at the back stick, and the reality is, like I said, if we get a goal, it makes it very difficult for Bodo for them to then beat us by 4 clear goals to beat us, or to score 3 more goals to level with us and take it to extra time. Ange was asked on whether that Aston Villa game being moved is a sign that he thinks the club have 1 foot in the final already. He said, "Oh my God, really? Next question, please. I don't make the rules. I don't change fixtures. I am the manager." And then, I don't know if you saw this yesterday or last couple of days, Arsene Wenger has come out alongside Richard Keys and Andy Gray in the Boomer TV stakes, Wenger has come out and said he doesn't think the Europa League winner should qualify for the Champions League. Andrew was asked about that. He gave quite a funny answer. He said, I've got great respect for Arsene Wenger. He's one of the legends of the game, but Tottenham does crazy things to people. I love it. Bring it on. It's going to upset people, so that makes me happy. Like I've said before, when it's Spurs, it does crazy things to people. He actually also said, oh yeah, people have been talking about this for years, haven't they? How the winner of the Europa League shouldn't get through to the Champions League, and then showed that he was being sarcastic and said, it's literally only been talked about because it's Tottenham. Well, I would add in that it's because it's potentially Manchester United as well, and Arsene Wenger is obviously an Arsenal man. But I think Ange's response was pretty good, to be honest. Just like, yes, people, whenever Spurs get involved, they want to change things. They want mad stuff to happen. Like I said at the top of the show, they want Tottenham to become the meme. Ange was asked on whether what he was talking about meant that Spurs had sent him crazy. He said, it hasn't made me crazy at all. I was talking about other people. I wasn't talking about me. I was asked a question about apparently there's a massive raging debate about the legitimacy of us or Man United potentially being in the Champions League next year. They need to change the rules because Spurs are involved. Exactly what I was saying there. So Vicario also was involved in some interviews pre-game. He was asked as well, about the Bodo players expressing confidence about beating us. And he played it pretty straight bat. He said, I don't want to get drawn into commenting on what other people have to say. We're going to let our football speak on the pitch. Listen, another big night for Vicario. I think it's fair to say his form has been a little up and down in recent weeks, but so far in Europe, he's been great for us. And we're going to need him tonight because they're going to make chances, and we're going to need him at his best shot-stopping self. And we're going to need him to be calm and considered on the ball. But I will say, with that back line of what I assume will be Porro and Udogie and Van de Ven and Romero, and then in front of them, Bentancur and Bissouma, it should be that he has lots of options with the ball at his feet to go short. And then also, like I said, I think they'll go Richarlison and Solanke in the forward line, so then also those options to play the big kind of cross-field diagonals up to the head of Richarlison to flick on and try and get Solanke and Kulusevski around them. And also, just again, like we did last week, hopefully play some good balls, all of the midfield, into the channels for Solanke to run and hold the ball up. That's something that Solanke is so good at, and that gets us up the pitch and allows us to keep some pressure on them in the final third. Vicario was also asked about Wenger saying that the Europa League winner shouldn't go to the Champions League. He said, doesn't matter, they are the rules. In terms of our opposition, Kjetil Knutsen, the Bodo Glimt head coach, he was asked about some of those comments from some of his players saying, that Tottenham's press was ass. He said this, I think that was an inexperienced player who didn't mean it like that. Probably that he felt that our freedom, what we want to do against pressure like Tottenham, we should do better. We should actually just put that to an end. I don't think there's any more to say about that. So he's suggesting that it was taken a little bit out of context, but also that it was an inexperienced player kind of getting ahead of himself. So I think that's good management from him. He went on to talk about the game and say, it's an historic match and we have the main role, but of course it's Glimt against Spurs. So that's the packaging, and they have 2 goals on us, and we hope that we can perform better. Be more Bodo Glimt. We're not favourites, but we see possibilities here. So that's a good starting point for performing well. Some of the rumours coming out of the Bodo Glimt camp is that they believe it's kind of a 50-50 tie, that the 2-goal lead for Spurs makes it about 50-50. I think my kind of realism makes me feel not dissimilarly, but hopefully that's just me being overly scared, basically. He went on to say, I think we're a good football team, and as with most other teams, we're better at home than away, and the grass we have, that's what we play on. It's due to the climate, and what you learn a lot, you get better at it. And of course, it has to do with our identity, and over time, we've dared to be ourselves and develop our gameplay and our style. And we've been lucky to be able to be in Europe over time and get the experience of playing in Europe, because it's so different from playing in Norway. And that experience, I think, we bring to other pitches too, but also especially at home, and over time to build trust in ourselves and know that the players know that we can compete. And if you know that you can compete, and you get a more aggressive image, and that's what we bring with us. This is a new match, new possibilities, new challenges, so that's how we've been working over time, and from this match we will learn no matter what the result is. He seems like a humble guy. He's an impressive manager. He's turned down options to manage clubs in much bigger leagues, and you do get the sense that he feels like this is their big night to really prove it properly at the top level. Not that they haven't proven it already. Like I said before, they've beaten, I think, 6 out of 7 sides that they played in the Europa League this season at home by 2 clear goals. So Tottenham are going to have to prove that they are the best team that they've faced, just like we did to Frankfurt. I think a lot of people, especially people in Frankfurt, thought that Frankfurt would roll us over at their place, and we went there and we won the game. We're going to have to be just as strong tonight if we're going to do the same. Hauger, their left-sided forward, was interviewed. He said, of course, for each round that goes, every step we've taken this tournament, it becomes bigger and bigger to do it with the club that you grew up with and in the city you're from. This is very special and probably the biggest match I've ever experienced. Spurs are going to have to match their motivation. They're going to have to match their intensity and their desire, and they are going to have to suffer. Sorry to bring back an Antonio Conteism, but Tottenham are going to have to suffer at times tonight. But also, remember that we have what it takes to put Bodo Glimt under pressure as well, and take those opportunities and be clinical. Finally, before we go, Spurs have apparently joined the race to sign Liam Delap and are determined to get a deal done for the Ipswich striker. But apparently, I read yesterday, Woolwich Arsenal are in for him, Man United, and many others. All right, guys. So good luck. We've got just less than 12 hours to go until the big one. It's going to be hard to watch. I will be doing the watch along on Chris Cowlin's channel, so come across and find me there for the game. My prediction, I'm going to go with 2-2. I have a fear that Tottenham will go 2-0 down in this game, possibly in the first half. I hope I'm wrong. I desperately hope I'm wrong, but that is my prediction. And my team selection, Vicario, Porro, Udogi, Van der Ven, Romero, Bentancur, Bissouma, Kulusevski, Johnson, Richarlison on the left, and Solanke up front with the likes of Odebear and Tell to come on off the bench if and when needed. Have a great day, guys. Let's hope tomorrow can be one big party and we all start booking our flights over to Bilbao for another European final. Guys, make sure you do give this video a like if you haven't already. Please do subscribe to the channel. And if you don't already, please do come over to the podcast platforms, be that Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Type in the Spurred On podcast and give me a subscribe or a follow. And it would really help me if you gave me a review and a rating there as well. Okay, have a good day. Come on, you Spurs.